Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just back from Greenland Cemetry in Larne. It was my first time I'd ever been there, but we very sadly had to conduct the funeral of one of our church members this afternoon, Ruth Walker, from Church Crescent in Glengormley. So as we have to do now, we just had a very simple, short graveside service. It's a beautiful setting up there if you've not been, with sort of fields all around the cemetery. And probably around 15 of us gathered, which were mainly family, but also some of the carers from Ben Madigan Nursing Home, which was lovely, in that Ruths lived the last couple of years of her life there. And I know the family have really appreciated the love and support she's had from them. So a very short, simple service. We read John chapter 14, and I again talked about the reality of life after death for those who are in Christ. We then prayed, remembering Ruth, praying for her family and for ourselves before we committed her body to be buried. But I'm very aware many friends and family members of our own congregation who knew Ruth would have wanted to be there and can't do. So it's good just to be able to remember her in this short tribute now. But Ruth originally came from Larne. She was born and brought up in Inver, and she went to Inver Primary School and Larne Tech. And she had a younger brother, Jim, and again, Jim died some years ago now. On leaving school, she went to work for Howden's coal merchants in Larne Harbour, and then went on to work for the British Road Services, which was a freight company. But she met her husband-to-be, Brian, in Wilbur's shop there in Larne one day. They had previously known each other from school, but had never really talked together. And they began to go out together, and they were married in 1963 there in Larne. And 2 years later, Brian's work saw him transferred up to Belfast docks. He used to work in the docks there in Larne. So they decided they were going to move from living with parents, and they brought the house there in Church Crescent, which has been the family home ever since. And in the years that followed, the two children, Diane and then Linda, were born and reared there in that home. And eventually, when the children were old enough and at school, Ruth went back to work, and she worked as a credit controller at Potter Cowan, and electrical wholesalers. And she worked there for 25 years, really enjoying that job. But as well as her work, Ruth enjoyed a number of different hobbies. She liked reading, she knitted, she loved her music, and particularly in the home, the family were telling me she used to sort of tap along to the beats of the music being played. She liked her shopping as well, enjoyed sort of going out to the shops. But undoubtedly, it was her family and her home which were of most importance in her life. And she was very, very dedicated to them. And they described her to me as a very warm-hearted, gentle, kind and witty woman who was always there for them. But also as somebody that you could never pull the wool over her eyes. She was someone who stood no nonsense and always got to the truth, however much maybe people tried to hide it from her. And again, her and Brian had a very happy and committed marriage, but about 2 years ago, due to the onset of dementia and also a very bad pressure sore, which meant Ruth had to be turned regularly, she had to move into Ben Madigan Nursing Home, which is down near the Abbey Centre there. And she really did receive very good care there in that home from the dedicated staff. And she continued to receive daily visits from her family. And I know they just want to pass on their thanks to the staff there for all that they did to make Ruth happy and comfortable. But about 2.5 weeks ago, she fell sick and she had to go into the Mater Hospital. And she was there for some time, but very sadly passed away peacefully there on Sunday morning. So I just ask you, please, just to pray for her family at this time. Pray for Brian, her husband. They're married for nearly 57 years, so it's a long time, isn't it, to be together. Um, Please pray also for her two children, Diane and Linda, and Chris, who's Diane's husband, and also the three grandchildren who are Paul, Aaron, and Danielle. Um, Please just remember them in your prayers at this time as we committed Ruth into God's loving care this afternoon. Okay, God bless.